if your joints feel inflamed or hurting, having an eating window helps with decreasing that. It also helps it advance enhanced cognitive functions. You can focus better at what's right in front of you. You're more efficient at getting your tasks done. Did you guys think that, like, are some of these surprising to you? I know for a fact that some of them were really surprising to me, like the muscle mass just by eating. And there's research studies on this where they have had two different groups and they have measured all these things, and it was like almost 40% better with muscle mass. That's a large number. Any questions about this? Jess, how are we looking? So far, so good?
So far, yeah, so good.
Cool. Okay.
I will
So,
just add something here that, I was telling Jesse that I had to adjust my metabolism over the past, I would say 10 weeks. Um, and it adjusts. Basically, it's like me training my brain saying, I want to eat only these things. And I kind of was keeping with that for last 10 weeks. And then I told her that the results are like just phenomenal. I lost 20 pounds, but
wow. Hello.
it's just that I am maybe taking time now. Some people around me say that I'm stopped enjoying things in life, but I don't know if that's their perception. Maybe I have, but it's like what the point I was trying to make is your body does adjust to if you set to it. I think and I think the other point I wanted to make was there's so many people have written different dietitians that have written different books, or there are different Atkins diet or this diet or that diet. So I think our bodies are different and not one plan works for everyone, I think. And
Yes.
so that's another thing I'd like to say, because I went through a whole bunch of different ones and many of them did not work. Now, that doesn't mean they don't work, but that means that did not work for me.
Yes. And
That's
I
all I
think
want to add.
that's such an important point to make. And that gets me to, I want to clarify this for you guys. We're not talking about a diet here. I'm not telling you what to eat. What I want to relay as an information is that you have absolutely this internal clock. And when you adjust that, you set up your metabolism so what you eat, whatever kind of a diet, right, or eating habits that you have as far as food that's going in, without changing what you eat, just when you eat it makes a difference. And I 1000% agree with you. It's not a one size fits all, guys. With diets, of when you come up with the Atkins diet, the paleo diet, the keto diet, everything works a little bit differently for everybody. And maybe this will be another presentation that Jess and I have talked about, but I do think it's a whole different topic. What I am studying currently is the blood group diet, and I don't really like to call it a diet, guys. It is just figuring out what works for me. And that's kind of the tricky part in this journey of what to eat. Their studies are saying that based on your blood type, you have a certain kind of stomach acid, which then helps you digest different types of food better. And I find that also, it's not a one size fits all. So for an example, my best friend's blood type is a B positive, and she does really well with eating grains. She does really well with processing certain types of bread to pasta. It works for her. She doesn't gain weight. She feels really good energy. Whereas mine, I'm an O negative blood type. I don't do well with bread. I love bread, but I know for me, when I eat it, I don't feel so well on it. My workouts aren't so great. I don't feel fantastic. I do incredibly well with protein. I can do red meat and she can't, right? So everyone is a little bit different. And so you kind of got to figure out, what are my pieces to put together? So that's a different of a diet. Yeah. What I am talking about today is this eating window. When do I eat it? And a lot of times we don't pay attention to, we eat for too long throughout the day, not even what I eat, but how long out of my 24-hour window I eat. Because if you think about it, it's the first thing that goes in. And I think that gets us to the next slide is, how do I set my clock? When should I be eating, right? And the way I like to think about this, and or based on the research that they have said, is your metabolism, the way you digest your food, is a whole lot more efficient throughout the day. Your liver enzymes actually activate with sunlight. And it's slower because it's getting ready to rest, repair, and to reset for the next day later in the evening. How do I figure out what that time frame is for myself, though, is going to be very much based on your lifestyle. So if you say out of this 24 hours, most of us, we don't even notice, but eat for longer than 12 hours, guys. And why that matters is because I'm constantly putting in, and I'm not giving my body enough time to actually work through what I have already put in. I'm just adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. I'm not giving my metabolism time to now work through and process what's already in. Does that make sense? What they say in their research is that the first thing that you put in your mouth, anything other than water, and we'll clarify some gray areas, anything other than water where your liver enzymes has to turn on to start processing and digesting, starts your clocked into digestion. And then, so say you wake up at, I don't know, 7 a.m. in the morning, and then you have your coffee with milk and a little bit of sugar. Those are things you have to process. Clock starts. And then you go throughout your day and you have your breakfast, you have your snacks, you have your lunch, your dinner, and then a little bit of snacks at night, and then count those hours. How many hours did you eat that day? Is it more than 10? I'd like for each of you, if you're in the meeting right now, see if you can do a check-in with yourself. And you don't have to tell me if you don't want it, but I do want you to be aware, right? Because that's where it comes from. Okay, where could I make adjustments? Not saying eat less. No, I'm not saying it yet, but I'm just saying, how long is my eating window? Because say I keep putting in and then my body didn't have a chance to process that, then also with a heavy stomach, if you go to bed, I'm still asking my body to do two different things. A, go rest and repair, shut down a little bit, but also digest, work through what I got, right? So I'm pulling my system in two different directions, which also means that my quality of sleep is probably not as good. So the way I like to figure it out for myself, and I think individually it works like this, 9 to 10 hours based on their research is the absolute optimal for you to get all the health benefits that we have covered. And if I can figure that out, where should that be for me? It should look like this. If you know that you go to bed at, I don't know, write down what time you go to bed. I am a night owl. We go to bed pretty late. Usually it's been about 11 o'clock is where I'm starting to go bedtime. So if my system is knowing that around 11 o'clock is when I go to sleep, my body's internal clock with chemistry that's happening within, it adjusts to my melatonin levels, right? That helps me go to sleep and get rest, starts to rise within that 3 to 4 hours before I go to bed. If my melatonin levels are going up, my metabolic rate is going down, meaning I'm not as efficient digesting food. They work in as a pair, okay? So if I go to bed at 11 o'clock, then my dinner should be probably no later than 7:30 to 8 o'clock, because that gives me at least a 3-hour window for my body to work through the food I put in. Does that make sense? I see you smiling, Jess. I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yay! Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if my dinner, let's call it 8 o'clock, if my dinner is at 8 o'clock, then I'm going to count my 9 hours backwards. And I like the 9 hours because I'm an overachiever, but you could also do 10, also very much into the research of good benefits. Then I go from 8 to noon, right? So then my breakfast should be at like what? 10 a.m. And now I know what my clock system should be. And just like you mentioned, these are habits, guys, and it doesn't just go like that. It takes practice, because what you repeatedly do is exactly what your body adapts to. It's a habit versus a diet, because diets last you so long and then you get the results you want, and then if you jump right back into what you were doing before, then it's this cycle, this never-ending cycle. And the goal with this is that I create sufficient eating habits so my body's clock is at absolute optimal, and that sustains me, right? For this is something I can work through. Now, in the beginning, say your window is quiet long, you will experience sensations like hunger. And guys, what I want you to know is feeling hungry is totally okay. You're not going to die. You are not starving, because you're going to eat, and your internal clock starts to adjust to what you're teaching it to. It's a little bit of a training cycle. Yeah. And feeling that sensation of hunger, totally normal. It was always in our evolution to feel hungry, because from that feeling of I feel hungry is where then we would go hunt and gather. Yeah. Get the food that we would put in. Now we have it quite easy, right? It's all the red and blue and yellow packagings in the stores and food companies are really smart at what they do. They know exactly what to do, what to wrap it in, because those are signals that send us where it's ripe, it's ready, it's right. And so those are the things we pick up, because in nature, that's how our evolution came out, right? We would pick the things that are red, ripe, that are colors we would work through. Again, a different topic. Any questions about this so far? About the
We have
clock
a
system?
couple in the chat.
Yeah.
Mostly on on coffee in
Cool.
particular, which I know you'll get to, or unless you want to take that away
Okay.
right now.
So,
And then another one is what constitutes breaking your fast? Yeah, coffee, tea. Yeah, so maybe we can take it there.
yeah, let's go there. Thanks, Jess. And thanks for the questions, guys. Really good question. So based on Dr. Patrick's study, black coffee, no sugar, no milk, or just plain tea is kind of a gray area, where if it is just that before your, and guys, think about it, breakfast, literally break, fast. And so this intermittent fasting or time restricted eating, it became this big fad recently, right? But this is how our through evolution we're supposed to be eating, right? It is our internal clock, because it wasn't always like food always available. And so with coffee specifically and tea specifically, black, no milk, no sugar, her study shows that it turns on your liver enzymes, digestion, so minimally that you still get all the benefits out of it. Now, if you do put a little bit of sugar or a little bit of milk or something other than where your liver enzymes have to turn on, clock starts. Anything other than water, or right, because tea and coffee is still water, there's just that extra in there, it doesn't start your clock so much. However, if you do put something in it, starts your clock. Does that answer your guys' question?
What about green tea?
Green tea is the same as black coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Z, it
Yeah.
sounds like what you're saying is it has to do with the kicking on of the liver enzyme also speaks to calorie consumption. So when
Yeah.
you think about coffee and tea with no added anything to it, we're not adding sugar that causes the systems of processing, or milk that causes the systems of processing. It really is about keeping it to low or no calories that doesn't constitute breaking the fast.
Yeah.
So
What about,
yes, you
like,
can have your caffeine, but no, you can't have your cream.
Yes. You can have it later.
Exactly.
what about like sparkling water with like flavors in it?
I am not an expert on that. I'm gonna go with I don't know. Um, I do have, and don't quote me on this, but that reminds me of with sparkling water, and I really like bubbles too. There's something about that I have to pull up and find that research again, where there's something about the bubbles specifically that does something to your belly that causes more hunger.
They're also shown, like the bubbles and carbonation is shown to disrupt digestion. Maybe not in everybody, but definitely a possibility that carbonation will disrupt how your body digests food as well.
Yeah. That's still like new
Unfortunately.
research and stuff. Unfortunately, I love bubbles. So there's that, you know, and then from information, you get to make your own choices, really. I don't know about if there's 0 calorie and just carbonation, there's no sugar and whatever flavor, what that does, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, and that I don't want to misguide you. Cool. Anything else before I keep going?
Get over here.
Cool.
What about hot and cold water? Does it make any difference?
I don't know. That's an interesting question, Kim. I don't know about temperatures. I haven't heard anything with that. I don't think that temperature makes a difference in digestion as far as starting it or not.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's calories, so temperature would be a little different. I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think the temp can affect our body in a different way, but I don't believe or
It won't start
know
your
if
liver
it's
enzymes.
starting your, I don't,
Cool. So Jess and I thought, how can we aid you guys? Because by any means, I'm not suggesting that this is easy to start. If you are eating for more than 12 hours, it's likely that you are experiencing weight gain that you're not excited about. So how can I gradually, right? Because it's not balls to the walls, guys, right? It's how can I gradually figure out so I efficiently see my graph going this way instead of whoop, plateau and then no, thank you, it's not for me, right? So we want to play it smart. And if you're eating for longer than 12 hours, based on what you looked at, and you should really be honest with yourself, a 12 and 12-hour split of eating for out of my 24-hour window, eating for 12 hours and then not eating for 12 hours, and that counts your sleep, right? Is a good way to start. And then when you're getting into that, then you can gradually shorten your windows. I still highly recommend that you leave minimum of 2 hours of, to the best you can, minimum of 2 hours of not eating before bed. It'll dramatically help your sleep. You'll feel much better in the morning, guys, when you do it that way because you wake up not so groggy. You wake up ready to rock. Yeah. So starting with a 12 and 12-hour split is a really good idea to get your body, your internal clock starting to get used to that. The optimal is 8 to 10 hours. I do 9 personally. And then Dr. Patrick also talked about that, say, like, what do I do on the weekends, right? What if I have, you know, an event, or if I have some kind of a thing that's going to go a little longer? In her study, if you practice this at least 5 days a week, and then you have your cheat, or like you're, you know, enjoying your life, not that you're supposed to not enjoy life. And I very much enjoy my life, guys, just like this. So I hear you, it's all perception. 2 days a week, if you don't follow that 9 to 10 hours, you'll still find benefits. Break fast is your breakfast. And what I actually learned as we were doing this presentation, as we put it together for you guys, just found an article that says that to break your breakfast, you want to get whole and light foods, and fruit was one of the best things that you could start to set up your digestion for success. So that's exactly what I've been doing for my breakfast. I've just been eating pieces of fruit and I feel really good throughout the day. I really do. So if you go to breakfast, and that's kind of, I was like, oh, if I go to breakfast and I order food and then it comes with a side of fruit, what I used to do is I used to leave my fruit for my dessert that I would eat that last. And now that I know about this, if I start my digestion with the fruit, you digest your food that you're eating after much better. Now I start with my fruit and then I journey onto my eggs and vegetables. So that was a fun tip that I learned. For best results, eat last meal 3 hours prior to bed. With her research, it says that 3 to 4 hours is the optimal for your melatonin levels. 4 hours to not eat, that's challenge on. So I try to do my best to have it at least 2 to 3, and I feel I'm getting pretty good quality sleep. I could probably get better if I increase that, but I'm happy with my 3 hours. So you guys see how it's like these are guidelines, but you really get to make it work for you. Does that make sense?
The challenge with leaving 3 to 4 hours before sleep is, for me, I'm going to go and snack and something in between in that 3-hour window.
Yeah, for sure.
The longer I have, the later I do the dinner, I think I have a little more
And that
discipline of
also
not eating.
becomes, yeah, I hear you. I definitely hear you. That also becomes the mindfulness game, right? And when you have all your information of why do I want to do this, then you get to make choices for yourself, right? And so you pick and choose what is it that works for you. Just understand that if you decide that you don't do this, that's okay. It may not be for you, just understand how your body works, right? And then making conscious choices along the lines of that. I do find that it's challenging to not eat, but the same way that it takes practice and getting a little bit uncomfortable to feel that growth and change, right? Because it's just like a workout. You get a little uncomfortable with, your muscle soreness or going a little longer in your runs or making it a point to get out of your chairs and stand a little more. It might feel a little more uncomfortable, or get a little more tight in your legs. But understanding that this is good for me, just because it's hard, it doesn't mean right? And so when you start practicing and putting it as a habit, what I found for myself is in the beginning, when I first started this, and I've been doing this for years, when I first started this, I would be hungry. And not that I was a huge breakfast person, but by like 10, 11 o'clock,